The glass shattered against the wall 3 inches from Zara McCohen's head. She didn't flinch. Couldn't afford to. Not in front of men like these. The VIP room at Club Obsidian reeked of imported whiskey and something darker. Something that made her skin crawl even after 2 years of working these floors. 5 men sat around the table, cards scattered, chips stacked high. The one who'd thrown the glass was already ordering another drink like nothing had happened. Zara adjusted the tray in her hands, kept her face blank, her body language submissive. Survival 101 in Seoul's underground. You swallowed your pride, you smiled when they touched you, and you collected your money at the end of the night. That money kept her mother alive in Addis Ababa. Stage for breast cancer didn't negotiate. Neither did hospital bills. Another round for the table, she said in practice Korean, her accent thick but functional. The man at the head of the table looked up. Ryan Chai. She'd been briefed about him by her sister Salam 3 weeks ago. Pharmaceutical empire heir. Estimated worth in the trillions of won. Connected to half the politicians in the city and rumored to own the other half. He had tattoos that crept up his neck like smoke, visible even in the dim red lighting. His eyes were the color of black coffee and just as bitter. You, he said, pointing at her with 2 fingers. Come here. Zara's pulse quickened, but she moved smoothly, years of dancing making her steps fluid even in 6-inch heels. She set the tray down on the table between them. His hand shot out, grabbed her wrist. Not hard. Not yet. Just enough to stop her from leaving. What's your name? Zara. Ethiopian. Yes. His thumb pressed against her pulse point. She knew he could feel it racing. You're new. 3 months. Liar. I've been watching you. 6 weeks, 2 days. His grip tightened just slightly. I don't like liars, Zara. She forced herself to meet his eyes. Then you should have better things to count. One of the other men laughed nervously. Ryan's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Amusement, maybe. Or interest. Neither was safe. He released her wrist, leaned back in his chair. Get me a private room. Just you. 30 minutes. It wasn't a request. Zara bowed her head slightly and left, her mind already racing. This was exactly what Salam had planned. Get close to Ryan Chai. Get him alone. Slip him something to make him sleep. Photograph his phone, his documents, anything that could give Salam's operation leverage over the Chai pharmaceutical empire. Simple. Clean. Dangerous as hell. She went to the back office, grabbed the small white pill from her locker, tucked it into her bra. Her hands were steady. They'd stopped shaking after the first few jobs. That's what fear did when you fed it long enough. It either killed you or it got bored and left. Room 7 was ready when she arrived. Low couch, bottle of premium whiskey already open on the table, soft music playing through hidden speakers. The door opened and Ryan walked in alone. No bodyguards. That surprised her. He shrugged off his jacket, revealing tattooed forearms covered in Korean script and geometric patterns that disappeared under his rolled sleeves. His shirt was custom, probably cost more than she made in 6 months. Pour me a drink, he said, sitting on the couch and spreading his arms across the back like he owned the entire world and was simply allowing her to exist in it. Zara moved to the table, poured whiskey into 2 glasses with practiced elegance. Her fingers brushed the pill in her bra. She turned her body slightly, shielding the movement as she dropped it into his glass. It dissolved instantly. She handed him the drink, kept the other for herself. To new friendships, she said, lifting her glass. Ryan looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. To honesty, he said. They drank. Zara felt the liquid burn down her throat, felt the familiar warmth spread through her chest. She set the glass down, moved closer to him with the fluid grace of someone who'd done this dance 1,000 times before. Her hand touched his knee. You look tense, she said softly. Do I? Let me help you relax. His hand came up, brushed a lock of her hair behind her ear. The gesture was almost gentle. Almost. How long before it kicks in? He asked. Zara's blood turned to ice. What? The Rohypnol, or whatever third-rate sedative you dropped in my drink. He took another sip, completely calm. How long? She tried to stand. The room tilted. I switched our glasses while you were turned around, Ryan said, his voice coming from very far away. You really should pay more attention, Zara. The floor rushed up to meet her. When consciousness returned, it came in fragments. Soft sheets. Bright lights. The smell of antiseptic. She tried to move and found an 4 in her arm, a blood pressure cuff automatically inflating around her bicep. You're awake. Good. Zara's head snapped to the side. Ryan sat in a chair by the window, still wearing the same clothes, looking completely unaffected by whatever should have knocked him unconscious. A tablet rested on his lap. "Where am I?" Her voice came out hoarse. "My private medical facility. You ingested approximately 4 milligrams of flunitrazepam. Not enough to kill you, but more than enough to put you under for several hours. The 4 is just saline and vitamins. You'll be fine by morning." She tried to pull the 4 out. 2 men in black suits appeared from somewhere she couldn't see, moved to flank the bed. "I wouldn't," Ryan said mildly. "You're still metabolizing the drug. Stand up too fast and you'll pass out again. Let me go." Eventually, he stood, walked over to the bed with the tablet. "But first, we're going to have a conversation. An honest one this time." He tapped the screen, turned it toward her. Security footage. Club Obsidian. Her meeting with a woman in the alley behind the building. Money changing hands. The woman's face was clearly visible. "Selam. Your sister runs a very impressive operation," Ryan continued. "Debt collection, blackmail, some light human trafficking when the price is right. She's made a lot of enemies. Unfortunately for you, I'm one of them." Zara's throat closed. 3 months ago, she had 2 of my suppliers killed in Busan. Tried to make it look like a gang dispute. It wasn't. He swiped to another image. Crime scene photos. Bodies. I've been investigating ever since. Imagine my surprise when I discovered she'd sent her baby sister to seduce me. He set the tablet down on the bedside table. "So here's the situation, Zara. I have enough evidence to put your sister away for 15 years minimum. Probably more. I own the prosecutors, the judges, half the police force. 1 phone call, and she's dead within 48 hours. Prison isn't kind to people who cross the Chai family. What do you want?" The words scraped out of her. Ryan pulled the chair closer, sat down so they were eye level. "I'm dying," he said simply. Zara blinked. Of all the things she'd expected him to say, that wasn't on the list. "Autosomal dominant polycystic kidney disease. Genetic. Inherited from my mother, who died of the same thing when I was 8 years old." His voice was clinical, detached. "My kidneys are failing. I have 6 months, maybe less. There's no cure, no transplant that will save me long term. The disease will just destroy the new kidneys too. I don't understand what that has to do with me. My cousin, Huan Ji, is next in line to inherit the family empire. 9.2 trillion won in assets, pharmaceutical patents worth billions more, political connections that span 3 countries. Ryan leaned forward. "Huan Ji is also a psychopath who has 14 confirmed kills tied to his trafficking operation. If I die without an heir, he takes everything. Uses it to expand his criminal network. Probably starts a war with the Japanese syndicates within a year." His hand moved to rest on the bed beside her hip. Close but not touching. "I need a child. A biological son to inherit. Someone Huan Ji can't touch, can't corrupt, can't kill without bringing down the full weight of the legal system on his head." Zara's skin went cold. "No. I'm offering you 1.8 billion won. 300 million up front, deposited tonight into whatever account you specify. 500 million when pregnancy is confirmed. 1 billion when you deliver and sign away all parental rights." I said no. "Your mother's cancer treatment costs $19,000 per month. She's 2 months behind on payments. The hospital in Addis Ababa has already started cutting her medication doses." He pulled out his phone, showed her an email. Official hospital letterhead. Her mother's name. "Sign this contract and I'll cover her treatment in full. Transfer her to the best oncology center in the world. She'll have a chance. A real one." Zara's vision blurred. She blinked hard. "You're insane. I'm dying and desperate. There's a difference." He stood, straightened his shirt. "You have 24 hours to decide. If you refuse, I make the call about your sister. If you accept, you'll be compensated beyond your wildest dreams, and you walk away when it's over. You'll never see me or the child again." "Why me? You could have any woman in Korea." Ryan looked at her for a long moment. Something shifted in his expression, something dark and possessive that made her stomach flip. "I've been watching you for 6 weeks, Zara. The way you move, the way you carry yourself even in that degrading job. You're strong, healthy. Your medical records show excellent genetics, no hereditary diseases." His eyes traveled down her body, clinical and hungry at the same time. "Your hips, your build, everything about your body is perfect for carrying a child. My child." He moved closer, his hand suddenly gripping her jaw, forcing her to look at him. "And when you're swollen with my son, when everyone can see that you belong to me, you'll understand. This isn't just business, Zara. The moment I saw you, I knew. You were made to give me an heir." He released her, stepped back like nothing had happened. 24 hours. The 4 will be removed in 2 hours once the drugs are fully metabolized. My driver will take you anywhere you want to go. Think carefully. He walked out. The door locked behind him with a quiet click that sounded like a coffin closing. Zara made it 18 hours before she broke. She'd gone back to the tiny apartment she shared with 2 other dancers, had tried to sleep, had spent 3 hours staring at the ceiling while her mind spun in circles. She'd called the hospital in Addis Ababa. Her mother was being moved to palliative care. They were sorry. There was nothing more they could do without payment. She'd called Selam. No answer. Left a voicemail. Called again. Finally, at 4 in the morning, a text came through from a number she didn't recognize. Address. Time. Come alone. The car that picked her up was sleek and black with windows tinted so dark she couldn't see out. It drove for 40 minutes, eventually pulling up to a compound in the hills outside Seoul. Gates opened automatically. The house beyond was modern, all glass and steel and lights. A man in a suit escorted her inside, through hallways decorated with art that probably cost more than her entire existence, upstairs covered in white marble. He opened a door to an office where Ryan sat behind a desk reviewing documents. Sit, Ryan said without looking up. Zara sat. He finished whatever he was reading, set the papers aside, finally met her eyes. Your decision? Her hands clenched in her lap. I want it in writing. Every single term. My mother's care. The payments. Everything. Ryan opened a drawer, pulled out a thick document bound in leather. Already prepared. 23 pages. You'll want to read it carefully. She took the contract with shaking hands, started reading. The language was dense, legal, but clear enough. 300 million won deposited within 24 hours of signing. 500 million upon confirmed pregnancy via blood test and ultrasound. 1 billion upon live birth. Then the other clauses. The ones that made her stomach turn. The carrier agrees to submit to weekly medical examinations. The carrier will follow all dietary restrictions and medical recommendations as specified by the designated physician. The carrier will not consume alcohol, tobacco, or any non-prescribed substances during the gestational period. The carrier will reside at a location of the contractees, choosing for the duration of the pregnancy. The carrier waives all parental rights upon birth and agrees to have no contact with the child following delivery. The carrier agrees to maintain absolute confidentiality regarding the arrangement under penalty of lawsuit and criminal prosecution. This is barbaric, she whispered. This is survival. Ryan stood, came around the desk. For both of us. I'll be your prisoner for 9 months. You'll be the most protected, most pampered prisoner in Korea. He pulled out a pen, set it on the desk beside the contract. Your mother lives or dies based on what you do in the next 60 seconds, Zara. Choose. Her hand reached for the pen. Ryan's hand covered hers, stopping her. Before you sign, understand something. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. The moment you put your name on that paper, you become mine. Your body, your time, your every breath for the next 9 months. You'll eat what I tell you to eat. Sleep when I tell you to sleep. I will monitor every aspect of your physical condition because that body will be carrying the most important thing in my life. His other hand came up, tilted her chin so she had to look at him. And when you're pregnant, when your belly is swollen with my child, when everyone who sees you knows that you're mine, you'll understand. This isn't just about money or desperation. I chose you specifically, not just because of genetics or convenience. Then why? His thumb brushed across her lower lip. Because I wanted you from the moment I saw you. And I take what I want. He released her, stepped back. Zara picked up the pen and signed her name. Ryan pulled out his phone, made a call in rapid Korean. Hung up. 300 million won will be in your account within the hour. Your mother's transfer to Massachusetts General Hospital is being arranged as we speak. They have the best oncology department in the world. When do we? She couldn't finish the sentence. Tonight. You're at peak fertility based on the medical screening we did while you were sedated. He saw her expression. You signed a consent for medical examination when you agreed to work at Club Obsidian. Read contracts more carefully. He moved to the office door, locked it with an audible click. Contraception fails, timing matters. We do this properly or we don't do it at all. Zara stood on shaking legs. Here. Now. I have a bedroom prepared. Unless you'd prefer the desk. The bedroom was connected to the office through a side door she hadn't noticed. It was massive, decorated in shades of cream and gray, dominated by a bed large enough for 4 people. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city lights below. Ryan closed the door behind them, started unbuttoning his shirt. You can undress yourself, or I can do it for you. Zara's hands moved mechanically to the zipper of her dress. She stepped out of it, stood in her underwear, arms wrapped around herself. The room was warm, but she couldn't stop shivering. Ryan's shirt hit the floor. His chest was covered in tattoos, geometric patterns that flowed into Korean characters she couldn't read. More tattoos covered his ribs, his shoulders. A phoenix spread its wings across his back. She could see part of it wrapping around his side. He was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. "Lie down," he said. She did. He followed her onto the bed, his weight settling beside her. His hand traced the curve of her waist, her hip. Clinical. Assessing. "I've had doctors monitoring your cycle for 3 weeks. Your body is ready." His hand moved to cup her breast through the lace of her bra. "These will be fuller in a few months. Preparing to feed my son." "Stop talking like that." "Like what?" "Like I'm livestock." His hand tightened just slightly. "You're the vessel for the most important thing in my life. That makes you infinitely more valuable than livestock." He reached behind her, unhooked her bra with practiced ease, pulled it away. His gaze raked over her exposed chest, possessive and hungry. "Perfect," he murmured. He hooked his fingers in her underwear, pulled them down slowly. She tried to close her legs. His hand pressed her knee, keeping them apart. "I need to see what's mine." He positioned himself between her thighs, his hands gripping her hips, spreading her wider. The clinical assessment was gone now. This was pure possession, pure want. "You're going to give me a son," he said, his voice rough. "And every time I touch you like this, you'll remember. You belong to me now." He entered her in one smooth thrust. Zara gasped, her fingers digging into his shoulders. He was bigger than she'd expected, and there'd been no preparation, no gentleness. Just raw claiming. "Look at me," Ryan demanded. She opened her eyes. His face was inches from hers, his expression intense, almost manic. "Say it. Say you're mine. I hate you." He thrust harder, making her cry out. "Say it." "Yours," she choked out. "God, I'm yours." He kissed her then, rough and possessive, swallowing her gasps as he moved inside her with brutal efficiency. This wasn't about her pleasure. This was about marking, claiming, ensuring pregnancy with mechanical precision. But somewhere in the middle of it, something shifted. Her body responded despite her mind's protests, hips rising to meet his thrusts, nails raking down his tattooed back. Heat built low in her belly, coiling tighter with each movement. When she came, it was unexpected and overwhelming, her body arching beneath his as pleasure crashed through her in waves she couldn't control. Ryan followed seconds later, his face buried in her neck, his hands bruising on her hips as he emptied himself inside her. They lay there breathing hard, bodies still connected. Finally, Ryan lifted his head, looked down at her. His hand moved to rest flat against her stomach. "Right here," he said softly. "My son is already growing inside you. I can feel it." He pulled out slowly, rolled onto his back beside her. His arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her against his side, hand never leaving her belly. "This body is sacred now," he murmured, almost to himself. "A temple for my heir." Zara wanted to push him away, wanted to run, wanted to scream. Instead, she lay there in the arms of the man who'd bought her, feeling his hand possessive and warm against skin that would soon swell with his child. "My mother died giving birth to me," Ryan said into the darkness. "I watched my father hold her body and scream. I was 8 years old." Zara said nothing. "You'll have the best doctors in Asia. State-of-the-art facilities. Every precaution." His grip tightened. "I won't lose both of you." "You don't own me," she whispered. His hand slid up to cup her breast, thumb brushing her nipple. "For the next 9 months, I own every breath you take. Every heartbeat. Every inch of this body that's creating my legacy." He kissed her shoulder, her neck. "Sleep. We have a long road ahead." Zara closed her eyes and tried to pretend the tears weren't falling. 2 weeks later, the pregnancy test came back positive. Zara stared at the digital display showing 2 pink lines, feeling like she was watching her own life from outside her body. The doctor, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and perfectly manicured hands, smiled at her. "Congratulations. Based on the blood test and examination, I'd estimate you're about 10 days along. Very early, but definitely pregnant." Ryan stood by the window of the private medical suite, his back to them, phone in hand. He'd been on calls all morning, managing his empire from a distance. When the doctor spoke, he turned. "You're certain?" "Absolutely. The beta-HCG levels are exactly where we'd expect for this stage of pregnancy. We'll do an ultrasound in about 3 weeks to confirm viability and check for multiples." He crossed the room in 3 strides, took Zara's hand. "Get dressed. We're leaving." In the car, He transferred 500 million won to her account with a few taps on his phone. Showed her the confirmation. As promised, your mother's treatment is fully funded for the next 2 years. The hospital reports she's already responding well to the new protocol. Zara looked out the window, watching Seoul pass by in a blur of neon and glass. Where are we going? Home. I have an apartment. Not anymore. You're moving into my residence today. I already had your belongings collected. You had no right. His hand gripped her jaw, forcing her to look at him. Not hard enough to hurt, but impossible to resist. I have every right. You signed a contract agreeing to reside where I specify. That's with me, where I can monitor your condition, ensure you're eating properly, resting properly, doing everything necessary to protect my child. He released her, his hand dropping to rest on her still flat stomach. You're carrying my son now. Everything changes. The compound looked different in daylight. Bigger. More isolated. The gates closed behind them with a finality that made Zara's chest tighten. Inside, Ryan led her up the marble stairs to the second floor, down a hallway lined with artwork she didn't recognize, to a set of double doors. Your room, he said, pushing them open. It was huge. King-sized bed, private bathroom visible through another door, walk-in closet already filled with clothes she'd never seen. Maternity clothes, she realized. Designer labels, soft fabrics, everything in her size. How did you? I have your measurements from the club. I had my stylist select appropriate items for each trimester. He moved to the closet, pulled out a loose cotton dress. Comfortable, practical, suitable for your changing body. He handed it to her. Change. You'll meet my father in an hour. He needs to see proof. Proof that you're actually pregnant. That I'm not wasting the family's time on some elaborate scheme. Ryan's jaw tightened. My father is traditional. He won't be pleased about your background or your race. You'll tolerate his commentary, smile, and say as little as possible. And if I refuse, then I'll let him believe you're a whore I'm keeping for entertainment, and you'll lose any chance of being treated with basic dignity in this house. He stepped closer. Your pride or your comfort, Zara. Choose carefully. She snatched the dress from his hand, went into the bathroom, locked the door. An hour later, dressed in the soft gray maternity dress that somehow made her look both elegant and vulnerable, Zara followed Ryan down to the first floor. They entered a formal dining room where an older man sat at the head of a long table. Chai Doyen was in his late 60s, white at the temples, wearing a traditional hanbok despite the modern setting. His face was carved from stone, giving away nothing. Father, Ryan said in Korean, this is Zara McCohen. As I informed you, she's carrying your grandchild. Doyen's eyes moved over her like she was a piece of furniture being evaluated for purchase. An African, he said flatly. Also in Korean, probably assuming she wouldn't understand. Ethiopian, Ryan corrected. And yes, you could have chosen any Korean woman, any suitable match. Instead, you bring me this. Zara's Korean wasn't perfect, but she understood enough. Her hands clenched in the fabric of her dress. She meets all the necessary genetic requirements, Ryan said, his voice cold. She's healthy, intelligent, and has no hereditary diseases in her family line. The child will be strong. The child will be mixed. Complicated. The board will never accept. The board will accept whatever I tell them to accept. As will you. Ryan's hand moved to Zara's lower back, possessive. She's under my protection. Anyone who disrespects her disrespects me and my heir. Doyen stood, walked around the table. He stopped in front of Zara, his gaze moving to her stomach. How far along? 10 days, Ryan answered. Too early to be certain. The tests don't lie. Doyen reached out, as if to touch Zara's belly. Ryan's hand shot out, gripping his father's wrist. Don't. The two men stared at each other. Finally, Doyen stepped back. Your cousin will fight this. Hwan Ji has been preparing to take over the company for years. He won't accept being passed over for a child who doesn't even exist yet. Hwan Ji is a criminal who's bought his way out of 14 murder charges. I have documentation of every crime, every bribe, every body buried in his wake. Ryan's voice was ice. If he tries anything, I'll destroy him. He's still family. So is my son. Doyen looked at Zara again, his expression unreadable. She'll need a Korean name. If the child is to be legitimate in the eyes of the family and the law. No, Zara said. Both men turned to her. I keep my name. It's in the contract. No forced name changes, no conversion ceremonies, nothing that erases who I am. Doyen's eyebrows rose. She speaks. She's not property, Ryan said, though his hand tightened on her back. Her name remains Zara McCohen. The child will have the Chai surname. That's sufficient. And when you die, What happens to her then? The question hung in the air like poison gas. She walks away with enough money to live comfortably for the rest of her life. The child inherits the company in trust until age 25, managed by designated trustees. It's all documented. You've thought of everything. I've had 6 months to think about nothing else. Doyen moved back to his seat, suddenly looking every one of his 67 years. Very well. But understand, Ryan. If this fails, if she miscarries or the child is born with defects, Huanji will take everything. He's already hired new lawyers, already maneuvering board members. You're running out of time. I know. After dinner, which Zara barely touched, Ryan led her back upstairs. But instead of taking her to her room, he brought her to his. It was larger than hers, darker, decorated in blacks and deep grays. The bed was enormous, unmade from that morning. You'll sleep here from now on, he said, shrugging off his jacket. The contract said I get my own space. The contract said you reside where I specify. I'm specifying here. He unbuttoned his shirt, revealing the phoenix tattoo across his back in full glory as he turned. I need to monitor you. Make sure you're not having complications, not developing symptoms. I'm 10 days pregnant, not terminally ill. My mother was fine until she wasn't. One day she was laughing, painting in her studio. 3 days later, she was bleeding out on a delivery table while doctors screamed at each other, and my father held me back from running to her. His hands clenched. So yes, I'm going to monitor you. Obsessively if necessary. He moved to the bathroom, started the shower. Steam began drifting out. Get ready for bed. I want you in that bed in 20 minutes. Zara stood there, torn between defiance and exhaustion. Finally, she went to her room, got her toiletries, came back. The shower was still running. She could see Ryan's silhouette through the frosted glass, his tattooed body moving under the water. She changed into the silk nightgown that had been laid out, brushed her teeth, tried not to think about how her entire life had become something unrecognizable in the span of 2 weeks. When Ryan emerged from the bathroom, he was wearing only a towel slung low on his hips. Water droplets traced paths down his chest, following the lines of his tattoos. His hair was wet, pushed back from his face. He saw her staring. Like what you see. You're arrogant. I'm aware of my effect on people. There's a difference. He dropped the towel. Zara turned away, face burning. She heard him laugh, heard the rustle of fabric as he pulled on sleep pants. When she looked back, he was sitting on the edge of the bed, patting the space beside him. Come here. She approached cautiously. Lie down. Ryan. I'm not going to touch you. Just lie down. She did, stiff and uncomfortable. He lay beside her, propped on one elbow. His free hand moved to rest on her stomach, still flat, showing no signs of the life growing inside. I can't believe there's someone in there, he said quietly. Someone who's half me, half you. A whole person we made. You make it sound romantic. It's not. No, he agreed. It's not. But it's still miraculous. His thumb traced small circles on her belly through the silk. When I was diagnosed with the same disease that killed my mother, I went to every specialist in the world. Spent millions on experimental treatments. Flew to Switzerland for genetic therapy that had a 3% success rate. His voice was distant. Nothing worked. Nothing even slowed it down. The cysts just kept growing, crushing my kidney tissue, poisoning my blood. Why tell me this? Because you should know. Should understand what you're giving me. He leaned down, pressed his lips to her stomach through the nightgown. You're giving me immortality. A piece of me that will survive when I'm gone. That's worth more than all the money in the world. He pulled her against his chest, arm wrapped around her waist, hand still on her belly. Sleep. You need rest. The first trimester is crucial. Zara lay in his arms, feeling his heartbeat against her back, and wondered how she'd become so tangled in a life she'd never chosen. At 3 months, her belly started to show. Not much. Just a subtle rounding that could be mistaken for weight gain if you didn't know better. But Ryan knew better. He noticed immediately. He came into the bedroom one morning while she was getting dressed, stopped in the doorway. Turn around. She did. His eyes locked on her stomach. He crossed the room in seconds, dropped to his knees in front of her, pulled up her shirt without asking permission. There, he breathed. I can see it. His hands spanned her small bump, thumbs stroking reverently. You're showing. My son is growing. He pressed his forehead to her belly. I can feel you in there, little prince. Keep growing. Get strong. Despite herself, despite everything, Zara's hand moved to touch his hair. He looked up at her, something raw and vulnerable in his expression. Thank you, he said. She didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing. The ultrasound appointment happened later that week. 20-week scan, the technician called it. Anatomy check. Zara lay on the exam table, cold gel spread across her exposed belly, and watched the grainy black and white images on the monitor. The technician moved the wand around, clicking and measuring, typing notes. There's the head. Good skull development. Spine looks straight and strong. For chambers in the heart, all functioning properly. Ryan sat beside the table, holding Zara's hand in a crushing grip, his eyes locked on the screen. Can you tell the gender? He asked. Would you like to know? Yes. The technician angled the wand, pressed harder. Okay, baby's being cooperative. See here. She pointed to something Zara couldn't decipher. Congratulations. You're having a boy. Ryan's hand tightened so hard on hers that she gasped. He didn't seem to notice. His other hand came up to cover his mouth, his eyes suddenly bright with moisture. A son, he whispered. I'm having a son. The technician smiled, continued the examination. Everything looks healthy. Growth is right on track. Would you like printouts? Yes. All of them. That night, Ryan taped the ultrasound images to the mirror in the bedroom. Stared at them while getting ready for bed, like he was memorizing every grainy pixel. He has your nose, he said. It's a blob. You can't see a nose. I can see everything. He came to the bed, pulled her nightgown up, began applying lotion to her stretching belly. Something expensive from Switzerland that was supposed to prevent stretch marks. He's going to look like you. Dark skin, dark eyes. Beautiful. He'll have your disease, Zara said quietly. 50% chance. Ryan's hands paused. The amniocentesis will tell us for certain next week. And if he has it, what then? Then he'll have the best medical care in the world. By the time he's an adult, there might be treatments that actually work. Gene therapy is advancing every day. His hands resumed their gentle massage. He'll have a chance I never did. A father who knows what's coming, who can prepare him. Or a father who'll be dead before he turns 5. The words came out harsher than she'd intended. Ryan's jaw tightened, but he didn't stop touching her. Yes, that's the reality. He leaned down, kissed her belly. Which is why every moment matters. Every day I get to feel him grow inside you is a gift. Zara felt something flutter inside her. Strange, like butterflies or gas bubbles. Oh, she breathed. What? What's wrong? I think he just moved. Ryan's eyes went wide. His hand pressed more firmly against her stomach, waiting. There it was again. Tiny flutters, barely perceptible. I feel it, he whispered. I feel him moving. He pulled her into his arms, buried his face in her neck. His shoulders shook, and she realized with shock that he was crying. I didn't think I'd make it this far, he said against her skin. Didn't think I'd live to feel this. Her arms came up automatically, held him while he broke apart. The amniocentesis results came back negative. Their son didn't have the disease. Ryan read the report 3 times, like he couldn't quite believe it. Then he called the doctor to confirm, made them explain the genetic analysis in detail. Only after the 5th confirmation did he finally accept it as truth. He took Zara out to dinner that night. A private restaurant in the hills, just the 2 of them and security waiting outside. He ordered wine, remembered she couldn't drink, ordered sparkling water instead. To our son, he said, raising his glass. Who beat the odds? They touched glasses. Zara drank, watched him over the rim. You're different tonight. I'm relieved. I've been carrying that fear for months. You don't seem like someone who fears anything. Everyone fears something. I fear failing the people who depend on me. I fear dying before I finish what I started. He set down his glass. I feared passing my curse to an innocent child. Now I don't have to. The food arrived. Expensive, beautifully plated, probably delicious. Zara picked at it, her appetite still unpredictable. Eat, Ryan said. The baby needs nutrition. The baby is fine. I had a checkup yesterday, remember? Perfect weight, perfect growth. You're not eating enough. You're not my keeper. Actually, I am. That's exactly what I am. But his voice was gentle, lacking its usual edge. Try the fish. It's high in omega-3s. Good for brain development. She ate a bite to placate him. Then another, because it actually was delicious. My kidney function dropped another 5%, Ryan said suddenly. Zara's fork paused halfway to her mouth. The doctors say it's accelerating. The stress hormones from the pregnancy, from everything. My body's shutting down faster than predicted. How long? 3 months. Maybe 4. They're recommending full-time dialysis starting next week. The food turned to ash in her mouth. She set down her fork. I'm killing you. You're giving me a reason to die with purpose instead of just fading away. He reached across the table, took her hand. Don't feel guilty for being the best thing that ever happened to me. This is insane. You're dying to create a child you'll never see grow up. I'll see him born. Hold him. Look into his eyes and know that I did something right before the end. His grip tightened. That's more than most people get. Zara pulled her hand away, stood abruptly. I need air. She walked out onto the restaurant's terrace, leaned against the railing, looked out at Seoul's lights spreading below like fallen stars. The night air was cool against her flushed face. Ryan followed, his presence solid behind her. I'm sorry, he said. For which part? Blackmailing me? Using my mother as leverage? Reducing me to a walking incubator? For making you care? His arms came around her from behind, hands settling protectively over her prominent belly. It would be easier if you still hated me. I do hate you. Liar. She turned in his arms, looked up at him. His face was thinner than it had been 3 months ago, shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there before. The disease was eating him alive from the inside while his child grew healthy and strong in her womb. This isn't fair, she whispered. Nothing about this is fair. But it's what we have. He kissed her. Slow, deep, tasting of wine she couldn't drink and desperation they both felt. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer even as her mind screamed at her to push him away. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. Come home, he said. Let me hold you and our son while I still can. At 6 months pregnant, Zara looked like she'd swallowed a basketball. Her belly was huge, impossibly round, stretching her skin tight. She had to sleep propped up on pillows because lying flat made her feel like she was suffocating. Her ankles swelled. Her back ached. She peed every 20 minutes. Ryan was obsessed with every symptom, every change. He hired a masseuse who came 3 times a week. He personally supervised her meals, making sure she got enough protein, enough vitamins, enough water. He bought a pregnancy pillow that took up half the bed and helped her arrange it every night. You're suffocating me, she complained one afternoon when he insisted she elevate her feet for the 3rd time. Your blood pressure was slightly elevated at your last checkup. Elevation helps with circulation. I'm fine. You're carrying my child. You don't get to be just fine. You get to be perfect. He knelt beside the couch where she was reclining, pulled her feet into his lap, started massaging them with practiced efficiency. Did you learn this from YouTube? She asked, only half joking. I had a physical therapist teach me. I wanted to do it myself. Of course he did. His hands worked up her calves, her swollen ankles, applying just the right amount of pressure. Despite her annoyance, it felt incredible. That's better, he murmured, feeling the tension leave her muscles. You hold all your stress in your legs. I wonder why. He looked up at her, something soft in his expression. Tell me what you need. Whatever it is, I'll get it. I need you to stop dying. His hands paused, then continued their massage, slower now. Working on it. The dialysis is helping. Bought me some time. How much time? Enough. He leaned forward, kissed her belly. Enough to meet him. That's all that matters. The baby kicked against his lips. Ryan laughed, pressed his palm flat to feel the movement. He's strong. Active. The doctor says that's good. The doctor says a lot of things. Like what? Like I'm measuring large for my dates. Like there's a chance he'll come early. Like I should be prepared for complications because of my age and it being a first pregnancy. Ryan's expression darkened. What complications? The normal ones. Tearing, hemorrhage, emergency C-section. The fun stuff they don't put in the baby books. No. You're not having complications. I won't allow it. Despite everything, Zara laughed. You can't control biology. Watch me. He stood, pulled out his phone. I'm calling the hospital. I want another consultation. I want to review the birth plan again, make sure every possible scenario is covered. Ryan, it's fine. It's not fine. Nothing about this is fine. He paced, phone to his ear. I need you to survive this. Both of you. I don't care what it costs or how many specialists I have to fly in from around the world. She watched him bark orders at whoever answered, his free hand running through his hair in agitation. The tattoos on his forearm flexed with each gesture. When he hung up, he looked exhausted. They're sending over the head of obstetrics tomorrow. We're going to plan for every contingency. This doesn't change the fact that childbirth is dangerous. I know. He came back to her, knelt again, took her hands. My mother died because the hospital wasn't prepared. Because my father was too traditional to insist on the best care. Because she was in labor for 36 hours before they realized something was wrong, and by then it was too late. His voice cracked. I won't make that mistake. You'll have a team of 10 doctors. Every piece of equipment. Every medication. I'll pay for an entire wing of the hospital to be yours alone if that's what it takes. Zara touched his face, felt the dampness on his cheeks. I'm scared too, she admitted. Then we'll be scared together. He climbed onto the couch beside her, careful not to jostle her, and pulled her into his arms as much as her belly would allow. They lay there in the afternoon light, his hand tracing circles on her stomach, feeling their sun move beneath his palm. I love you, he said quietly. Zara closed her eyes. Don't. Too late. I've loved you since the moment you tried to drug me in that club. Loved your strength, your defiance, your refusal to break even when I gave you every reason to. He kissed her temple. I know you don't feel the same, but I needed to say it. Before time runs out. She didn't respond. Couldn't. Because somewhere along the way, between the blackmail and the contracts and the baby growing inside her, she'd stopped hating him. Had maybe started feeling something dangerously close to what he was describing. But admitting it felt like surrender. So she said nothing, and they lay there as the sun set and Soul's lights began to glow. Two people bound together by circumstance and biology, and something neither of them had planned for. Love. At 7 months, everything went wrong. Zara woke at 3 a.m. to wetness between her legs and cramping pain in her lower abdomen. She reached for Ryan, found his side of the bed empty. He'd had dialysis that evening, was probably sleeping in the medical suite downstairs. She tried to sit up. Pain lanced through her, sharp and wrong. Ryan, she called out. Her voice came out weak. She tried again, louder. Ryan. Footsteps pounded up the stairs. He burst through the door, hair disheveled, still in the clothes from earlier. What's wrong? I think something's wrong with the baby. His face went white. He grabbed his phone, made a call while crossing to the bed. Contractions. I don't know. Pain. And I'm bleeding, I think. He pulled back the covers. Blood stained the sheets. Not a lot, but enough. The ambulance is coming. Don't move. Just breathe. Ryan, you're going to be fine. Both of you. It's probably just preterm labor. We'll stop it. The doctors said this could happen. But his hands were shaking as he helped her sit up, as he wrapped a robe around her shoulders. The ambulance arrived in 8 minutes. Security had the gates open. Paramedics rushed upstairs with a stretcher. Everything became a blur of movement and bright lights and medical terminology Zara didn't understand. For in her arm, blood pressure cuff, fetal monitor strapped across her belly. I'm getting a heartbeat, one paramedic said. Strong. Regular. Ryan's hand gripped hers so hard it hurt. At the hospital, they were rushed into a private suite. Doctors descended, examining her, checking the baby, consulting in rapid Korean that Zara's fear-addled brain couldn't follow. Finally, the head of obstetrics turned to them. The bleeding has stopped. The baby's heartbeat is strong. But you're showing signs of early labor. We need to stop it, or the baby will be born at 30 weeks. That's viable, but risky. Underdeveloped lungs, potential complications. What do we do? Ryan asked. Bed rest. Complete. For the remainder of the pregnancy. Medication to stop the contractions. Monitoring. If we can get you to at least 35 weeks, the baby's chances improve dramatically. She'll have whatever she needs. Mr. Cha, you should also know. The stress of the pregnancy is taking a severe toll on your body. Your kidney function has dropped to 18%. We need to discuss increasing your dialysis schedule. I don't care about me. Save them. If you die, the stress could trigger premature labor regardless of our interventions. You're connected. Your health affects hers affects the baby's. Ryan's jaw clenched. Fine. More dialysis. Whatever it takes. They kept Zara in the hospital for 3 days before allowing her to go home with strict instructions. No walking except to the bathroom. No stairs. No stress. Ryan had the bedroom converted into a makeshift hospital room. Monitors for polls, a call button connected directly to his phone. He moved a bed in for himself, refused to sleep anywhere else. You don't have to watch me 24 hours a day, Zara said from her elevated position, surrounded by pillows. Yes, I do. He looked terrible. Thinner than ever, skin pale, shadows so deep under his eyes they looked like bruises. The dialysis was keeping him alive, but just barely. You should rest. I'll rest when you're both safe. Days blurred together. Zara lay in bed, feeling the baby move, counting kicks like the doctor had instructed. Ryan brought her meals, helped her to the bathroom, read to her when she got bored. Medical staff came and went checking vitals, adjusting medications. At 32 weeks, Huan Ji made his move. Zara was dozing when she heard raised voices downstairs. Then footsteps, many of them, coming up the stairs. The bedroom door burst open. Huan Ji stood in the doorway, flanked by 4 men in suits. His scarred face was twisted in rage. Where is he? Who? Zara asked, though she knew. My dear cousin, the man who thinks he can cheat me out of my inheritance with a bastard child. Get out. Huan Ji laughed, moved into the room. His eyes went to her belly, huge now, obvious even under the blankets. You're actually pregnant. I thought it might be a ruse. But no, here you are, enormous and helpless. I said get out. You're in no position to make demands. He pulled out a document. This terminates the pregnancy contract and all your claims to Chai family assets. Sign it, and I'll let you walk away with your current funds. Refuse and, well, accidents happen, especially to pregnant women. One of his men moved closer to the bed. Zara's hand went to the call button, pressed it frantically. Ryan is dying, Huan Ji continued. Days, maybe weeks left. When he's gone, you have no protection, no legal standing. You're just a foreigner who got knocked up by a rich man. The courts won't care about you or your half-breed baby. The baby is legitimate, Zara said, fighting to keep her voice steady. Ryan filed all the legal documents. I'm his wife under Korean law. Forged documents. Easily challenged. Huan Ji pulled a pen from his pocket, set it on the bedside table. Sign and live. Refuse and you, and that thing inside you both disappear. The door exploded inward. Ryan, pale and shaking from his afternoon dialysis session, stumbled in with security behind him. His eyes went straight to Huan Ji. Touch her and I'll kill you myself. You can barely stand, cousin. What are you going to do? Ryan pulled a gun from his waistband. Where he'd been hiding it, Zara had no idea. His hand trembled, but his aim was steady enough. Get out. Huan Ji laughed, but he took a step back. This isn't over. Yes, it is. I have documentation of every murder, every trafficking victim, every bribe you've ever paid. It's with 3 international law firms with instructions to release everything to Interpol if anything happens to me, Zara, or our child. Ryan's finger moved to the trigger. You kill us, you go to prison for the rest of your life. We disappear, same result. Your only option is to wait for me to die naturally and pray the child doesn't survive to adulthood. The board will never accept. The board already accepted. I called a vote last week. You've been removed from the succession line. My son inherits, managed by trustees until he comes of age. You get nothing. Huan Ji's face went purple with rage. You can't. I already did. Now get out before I shoot you and claim self-defense. With all these witnesses, I'd probably even get away with it. Security moved forward, physically escorting Huan Ji and his men out. Their protests echoed down the hallway, fading as they were forced down the stairs and out of the compound. When they were gone, Ryan lowered the gun, his whole body sagging. He stumbled, would have fallen if security hadn't caught him. Get the doctor, someone said. No, Ryan gasped. Zara. Check Zara. The doctor rushed to the bed, checked the fetal monitor. Baby's heartbeat is elevated but stable. The stress isn't good, but there's no immediate danger. Thank God. Ryan crawled into the bed beside her, wrapped his arms around her, buried his face in her hair. I thought I'd lost you. When I saw him in here, touching you, I thought, I'm okay. We're okay. But she could feel him trembling, feel how weak he'd become. The dialysis was barely keeping up anymore. He was running out of time. That night, after the doctor had checked them both and left with instructions for increased monitoring, Zara lay in Ryan's arms listening to his labored breathing. I need to tell you something, he said quietly. Don't. If it's goodbye, I don't want to hear it. It's not goodbye. Not yet. He shifted to look at her. There's a will. A real one, not the contract everyone knows about. It names you as guardian and primary trustee for our son. 5 trillion won in a trust that pays out monthly for his care, education, everything he needs. The rest goes to legitimate charities, medical research, scholarships. Ryan, Huan Ji gets nothing. My father gets a small pension, but no control. The company goes into a management trust until our son turns 25. His hand moved to her belly. You'll have complete control over his life, his inheritance, his future. I'm trusting you with everything that matters. Why? Because you're the only person in this entire mess who didn't choose to be here. You were forced into it, blackmailed into it, and despite that you've given me the most precious thing I'll ever have. He kissed her forehead. You could have run, could have terminated the pregnancy, could have fought me every step of the way. But you didn't. You protected him, carried him, gave him a chance at life even though you hate me for making you do it. I don't hate you. I know. That's what makes it worse. They lay in silence, feeling the baby move between them, a whole person waiting to be born into a world of complications and money and loss. What will you name him? Ryan asked. I thought you'd want to choose. It should be your choice. You're the one doing all the work. Zara thought about it. About her homeland, about the life she'd left behind, about the strange new existence she'd been forced into. Ayasu, she said finally. It means Jesus in Amharic. Hope. Salvation. And a Korean name? You choose that part. He should have something of you to carry. Miho, Ryan said without hesitation. Brave and kind. Everything I hope he'll be. Ayasu Miho Chai. Perfect. He kissed her belly. Hello, Ayasu. I'm your father. I'm so sorry I won't be there to watch you grow. But your mother, she's the strongest person I've ever met. She'll teach you everything you need to know. At 35 weeks, Zara woke to wetness and pressure. Real labor this time. No stopping it. They'd made it. The baby would be early but viable. Safe. Ryan, she gasped, shaking him awake. He jerked up, instantly alert despite the late hour. What? It's time. He moved faster than she'd seen him move in weeks, calling the hospital, getting security, helping her into a wheelchair because she couldn't walk through the contractions anymore. The hospital was prepared. Private wing, team of doctors, every piece of equipment. They took her straight to delivery, got her into a gown, started monitors. Ryan was there through all of it, holding her hand, breathing with her through contractions that felt like they were tearing her in half. You can do this, he kept saying. You're strong. You're amazing. Just a little longer. But hours passed and nothing happened. The baby was stuck, his heartbeat starting to drop with each contraction. We need to do a C-section, the doctor finally said. The baby's in distress. Do it, Ryan said. They prepped her for surgery, wheeled her into an operating room while Ryan scrubbed in. Everything happened fast after that. Incision, pressure, pulling, and then a cry. Thin and reedy, but definitely a cry. It's a boy, someone said. 5 pounds 8 ounces. They held him up for a moment, this tiny red wrinkled thing covered in fluid, and Zara started crying. They'd done it. He was alive. He was here. Let me see him, Ryan said, his voice breaking. They brought the baby over while the doctors worked on stitching Zara up. Ryan held him with trembling hands, stared down at his son like he was witnessing a miracle. Hello, Ayasu, he whispered. I'm your appa. The baby's eyes opened, unfocused but searching. His tiny hand wrapped around Ryan's finger. He's perfect, Ryan said, tears streaming down his face. He's absolutely perfect. They laid the baby on Zara's chest, skin to skin. She looked down at this tiny person she'd carried for 8 months, this life she'd made, and felt something shift inside her chest. Love, fierce and overwhelming and terrifying. Hi, baby, she whispered. I'm your mama. Ayasa made a small sound, nuzzled against her. Beside her, Ryan collapsed. Alarms started going off. Doctors rushed over, pushed Zara's bed away while they worked on him. What's happening? She screamed. What's wrong? His kidneys, someone said. Complete failure. We need to get him to dialysis now. They wheeled him out, leaving Zara alone with the baby and a nurse who kept saying everything would be okay, even though clearly nothing was okay. 3 days later, Zara sat in Ryan's hospital room, Ayasu asleep in her arms. Ryan was on full life support, machines breathing for him, keeping his poisoned blood circulating. The doctors said he had hours, maybe less. His father had visited, said goodbye with tears streaming down his ancient face. The lawyers had come with documents for Zara to sign, making everything official. Now it was just the 3 of them. You should wake up, Zara said to Ryan's unconscious form. You should meet your son properly. Hold him while he's awake. Hear him cry. The machines beeped steadily. I don't hate you, she continued. I should. You blackmailed me, controlled me, treated me like property. But somehow, you also gave me this. She looked down at Ayasu, his tiny face peaceful in sleep. You gave me the most important thing in my life. She stood carefully, moved to the bed, laid Ayasu on Ryan's chest. The baby's small hand rested over his father's heart. This is your son, she said. Ayasu Miho Chai. He's beautiful and healthy, and he doesn't have your disease. He's going to live a long, full life. And I'm going to make sure he knows about you. About how you fought to give him a chance. About how you loved him before he even existed. She thought she saw Ryan's finger twitch, moving to touch Ayasu's hand. I love you, she whispered. I don't know when it happened, but it did. And I hate that I'm going to lose you right when I finally figured it out. The heart monitor's steady beat began to slow. No, Zara said. No, don't. Please don't. But the beep got slower. Slower. And then it flatlined. Doctors rushed in, tried to revive him, but Zara knew. She could feel his absence in the room like a physical thing. She picked up Ayasu, held him close, and watched them call time of death. 4:47 a.m. The same time Ayasu had been born 3 days earlier. 6 months later, Zara stood in the Chaijen boardroom, Ayasu strapped to her chest in a carrier, and listened to the quarterly reports. She was CEO in all but name, managing the company as trustee until her son came of age. She'd moved into the compound permanently, filled the empty rooms with life and color. Her mother had recovered, lived with them now, doted on her grandson. Salam had disappeared, taken her payout, and vanished to somewhere Interpol couldn't extradite her. Zara didn't ask questions. Huanji was in prison, finally. The evidence Ryan had collected had been released after his death, exactly as promised. 3 life sentences for murder, trafficking, and enough other crimes to keep him locked up forever. The company was thriving. Stock prices up, new drug trials showing promise, international expansion ahead of schedule. Ayasu cooed, drawing everyone's attention. Sorry, Zara said, adjusting him. He's hungry. Take the time you need, the CFO said, smiling. The whole board had adapted to having an infant at meetings. They had no choice. After the meeting, Zara took Ayasu home, fed him, laid him down for a nap. Then she went to the room she'd converted into a memorial. Photos of Ryan covered one wall. Him as a child, as a teenager, accepting business awards, candid shots from their months together. The ultrasound images were framed and hung prominently. She sat in the chair facing the photos, the late afternoon light streaming through the window. He smiled today, she told the pictures. A real smile, not just gas. The doctor says he's developing perfectly. Ahead of schedule even. She wiped her eyes. I miss you. Every day. But I'm doing what you asked. I'm protecting him, loving him, making sure he has every opportunity. She laughed wetly. And I'm running your empire without burning it down, so you should be proud. From the nursery, Ayasu started crying. Zara stood, went to him, picked him up. He looked exactly like Ryan, despite being half Ethiopian. Dark skin, but Ryan's sharp features, his intense eyes. Come on, little prince, she said, using Ryan's nickname. Let's go watch the sunset. She carried him out to the terrace where she and Ryan had stood so many months ago. Souls spread out below them, millions of lights beginning to glow as darkness fell. Your father loved you, she told Ayasu, more than anything in the world. He died making sure you'd have a chance at life. Ayasu grabbed her finger, held on tight. And I love you, she continued. More than I thought it was possible to love anything. She kissed his forehead, held him close, and watched night claim the city. Behind them, in the house filled with Ryan's presence and memory, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. The Seoul prosecutor's office has reopened the investigation into Hwan Ji's family. They found something. Documents hidden in a Swiss vault. Evidence of involvement by board members. This isn't over. Zara read it twice, her blood running cold. She looked